So Goresh has been out for a while, and in my opinion, he's been proven to shown to be one of the better commanders in the game right now. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down his skills, his best talents, best artifacts, best pairing, best warpets, and the best situations to use him in. So without further ado, let's get started. What's up, guys? MEOWER here, back with a brand new Call of Dragons video. So Goresh is probably one of the best commanders right now, and I will tell you why as soon as you drop a like, subscribe, join the Discord, the link is in the description, and let's see why he is one of the best commanders right now, especially for ones that don't even need to be awakened to truly shine in the battlefield. So starting off, we're going to be breaking down his skills, and then I'll be explaining his talents, and then I'll will be following the footsteps of, the artifacts, the warpets, the pairings, and so on and so forth. So let's start off with his skills, because Goresh's skill set is pretty strong in general. Starting off with his rage skill, Goresh's Legion gains physical keen and resistance. So physical keen, of course, is the bonus attack, and resistance decreases the damage taken in general, not just normal attack. All types of damage taken is reduced by 15%. A pretty strong skill overall, especially just the 15% damage reduction is pretty strong, as it scales up to 6 seconds. And as an infantry march, you're pretty much going to have a permanent uptime on this, anyways. But anyway, moving on to his second skill. So his second skill, all infantry units in Goresh's Legion gain 5% defense, scaling up to 15%, and 20, and dealing 5% more, all the way up to 20% more counterattack damage. Now, if you don't know, for infantry, usually when they deal counterattack towards ranged units, they deal around 50% than the usual counterattack. So this is effectively making that 50% into 70%, making it really strong, especially because infantry tend to be targeted by everyone and take reduced damage due to their already high base defense and all the defense steroids they already get. So this is a pretty strong skill in general. And his third skill, which was confusing to a lot of people at time, including me. However, after breaking it down, watching the reports, seeing how they fare in action, and so on and so forth, it's actually a pretty strong skill in general. So let me break it down. Ruthless. It is a passive skill. When Goresh's Legion launches a counterattack, they have a 50% to deal additional damage up to 5 surrounding legions. Each additional legion targeted reduces the damage taken by 15%, which scales, of course, by 15% times 5, which goes all the way up to 75% reduction. However, this triggers twice per second. Now, if you don't know, in Call of Dragons, a second equals a turn. So this can trigger twice per turn, resulting in a damage factor that is pretty insanely high, considering it is constantly up, it has a permanent uptime. It is really difficult not to watch it proc, because infantry in general tend to be attacked a lot, and skill damage is very rarely reduced by most talents and most skills and whatnot. So it is a very strong skill in general, and I do like it a lot. It has good design, especially for an infantry. It gives him the punch that he so desperately lacks as an infantry. So this pretty much just sets up his identity as a bruiser counterattack machine, with his pairings as well that will emphasize this in general. His final skill: when besieging a city or a stronghold, Goresh's Legion gains attack from 5% all the way to 20%. But, it's very rare that you're going to see any infantry rallies. That is why I tend to say you can run him at 5-5-5-1 and get the maximum value of him. At best, when you have him awakened, you're only missing out on 10% attack and a 5% extra damage resistance. The 5% damage resistance is pretty nice, not gonna lie, but wasting so many tokens on a skill that will cost you around 310 tokens just to unlock this, I don't know if this is worth it. So I'm looking at it as a perspective, and not that it's bad, and not that the awaken skill is bad, is it worth investing 310 tokens just to unlock an extra 5% damage resistance taken, which is in turn, while pretty strong, but it begs the question whether if it's worth it or not, because we still don't know if infantry are meta or not. That is why you should be taking the safer side and just rely on, having him on open field, just shredding people and shredding everyone and everything. That is why I always say 5-5-5-1. Next up, we're going to be discussing his talents. Now, Goresh is an open field machine. I've seen a lot of reports on him just performing wonderfully. So, we're going to be going all the way into the Roots of War campaign, the usual, where we can break down the talents better and build our commander much better. We're going to be resetting this and we're going to build it together. We're going to go with overall attack, we're going to go with overall speed, we're going to go for HP, of course. And then we're going to pick up Shield of Stability. We're going to go for the extra defense. We're going to go with Egoism because you can't really reduce hero skill damage otherwise. We're going to go with Adrenaline Rush because you do attack quite a lot. We're going to go with this. We're going to go with All Conquering. We're going to go with Last Word. We're going to go with Flank Protection. We still don't want to get nuked once we're surrounded, so it's pretty nice. Now, this is the biggest question I will see and hear in this, if it's worth going Iron Will, considering you're always going to have your skill cycle completely up, so extending the duration of the buff is generally wasted, especially on a commander like Goresh, who you want to be constantly attacked. So I think for this state, having ready for battle is probably the better option. And the reason for that is you already deal quite a lot of counterattack damage. So this is not a waste. With his pairing and with his talents and everything, you actually do kind of break the threshold of the 10%, of the 100% counterattack. So having this is actually pretty nice. And then, of course, we're going to be double dipping all the way into the infantry. We're going to be picking up Encouraging Dance, as usual. Encouraging Dance is always very nice. We're going to be picking up the infantry speed. We're going to be picking up the Intimidation for the extra hero skill damage, because this affects his third skill. And of course, the last 2 points will either go into Assassins in Waiting, so you can retreat faster, or it might go all the way to Rectification. Personally, I would go for Rectification because the heal is always nice, and you never know what would happen with that extra 60 healing factor than just getting uh, 12% more speed, which is pretty nice, I would say, but the extra healing is always nice. So this is the build that I will be using on Goresh once I get him to 5-5-5-1. If you do disagree with me, do let me know in the comments down below. We can discuss it. We can see which are better options and which are not. But for now, I think this is my personal opinion on the matter. I think this is the perfect tree for him, and it serves every single purpose that he needs. If you're using him for rallies, I would not double dip into infantry and rather skip the march speed and go all the way from rally here, overall health, overall attack, adrenaline rush, and then, of course, fair offense. Now, for his pairings. Goresh's pairings are pretty straightforward. I think he only works with two commanders at best, which is of course Goresh Skogul, his pair that was released in him with him that's just a pure DPS machine. I've seen some reports from my good friend Tio Alma. He's had 81k merits on an infantry march in the open field, which is absolutely insane. And when I mean insane, I mean absolutely insane. Plus, the amount of counterattack both of them get in general is pretty strong, and you actually do touch the threshold of 80% counterattack with just those two commanders once she is awakened, of course, to get that extra 10% counterattack damage, plus the artifact, which I will be discussing in a second. So you're technically reached the 100% counterattack mark. Of course, his second best pairing, or rather his best pairing and his both, I don't know which is the best pairing, but both of them perform fantastically. Of course, you know who we're gonna be talking about, the mommies of all mommies in Call of Dragons, which is Madeline. Malin, of course, gives him all the tools he needs to succeed, gives him even more keen. However, Goresh will override this keen because the way buffs and debuffs work in Call of Dragons, they take the highest percentage, and the highest percentage usually overrides the lower percentage. So we're just getting this for the extra shield, for the physical damage dealt bonus, the extra march capacity, and of course the extra counterattack bonus, which adds up. So you are technically running an extra 35% counterattack, which is 85% in total. You're getting more HP, which is always nice because these are all base stats, and you're getting even more damage with him. So they both really complement each other. However, the damage reduction here resistance is also overwritten by Goresh's rage skill, but it's still a fantastic pair with him. Garwood is not the best. He doesn't really give him anything that he needs. It doesn't give him counterattack. It doesn't give him damage. At best, you have this, but this has a condition where only if you're healed, so it's not really worth it. So, of course, just to recap, Goresh Skogul or Goresh Madeline. When it comes to pairing with Madeline, whichever is the primary, usually I would prefer Madeline just to get the shield first before anything else kicks in. Now, for his artifacts. If you don't know, Goresh got released with honestly one of the most broken artifacts in Call of Dragon to be released in a while, which is the Spiritborn token. Torque. And hear me out. This is artifact I immediately maxed it the moment I was in the Forge of Light. It is so broken and so disgusting and overloaded that it just overshadows every other artifact by miles. And the reason for that is, well, let's take a look at the stat profile. It gives infantry defense, which is their favorite stat. It gives a flat 62% defense. It gives damage taken and damage dealt by 75%. And then we get to the active. Now, the active where things get a little crazy. The active goes grants 600 rage points, so you can immediately start rage cycling as soon as your first rage kicks in. You will cycle it again, and you just never stop rage cycling super early, and you can taunt 5 people for 5 seconds. So you're already forcing people to attack you, and people cannot really ignore it. The range is pretty decent. If you're in a bit far in, you can start reaching archers and mages. So it's already extremely strong right there, and then it gets even stronger. It reads, your legion also gains shelter and determination, so these two do not affect any of the buffs you're already getting from your marches, which is 30% defense and minus 10% damage taken, which means gonna have a total of 92% defense buff minus 10% normal attack taken, and you're going to be dealing even more counterattack from your Legion, breaking the 100% cap. If you are running Skogul Goresh, you're going to be having exactly 100% counterattack damage. And if you're running Goresh Madeline or Madeline Goresh, you're going to have 105% counterattack, which is pretty insane. Now, this artifact is extremely overloaded. I do hope it gets a nerf, even though I have it maxed, but it is very strong and very overloaded. That stat profile just blows every other artifact out of the water. Of course, then you have other options. If you don't have this, this is by far the best in slot. But if you don't have it, you can always go for the good old reliable Greymar's hammer. The stun is always nice. Put him into good position where people are around him, and of course the entangling flames, which is the organic scale armor. The last option I would say, and you kind of do need Madeline with this in order to really shine, because your Legion gains range resistance when your wielder gains shield through rage skills. So this is purely a Madeline artifact. So you do need Madeline in the march in order for this artifact to work, especially with Goresh. But this is by far the most broken artifact in game. Use it on any infantry march. I use it, and my infantry is literally immortal. Now, finally, the Warpets. So I cooked up a little infographic here, which will appear on the screen in a second. So if you don't know what you're looking at, we're going to be using the Venomous Lizard as our core pet for Goresh. I don't think any other pet has as much synergy as the Venomous Lizard does with him. And the reason for that is because the way the the talent of the Venomous Lizard works is that once you're attacked, you have a percentage chance to attack players back with a really decent damage factor that can be triggered once every 1 second, meaning every 1 turn that lasts for 3 turns. So we're gonna be having infection as our core. We're gonna have forceful infection and super infection as, of course, the upgraded versions of the talent. And I would advise you wait for the patch to hit if you're watching this video now. And if you're watching this video in 12 hours from now or 5 or 6 hours from now, the patch would already be here, so you don't have to worry about anything. And then we're going to be going for the Counter Strike tree, which is tough Counter Strike, forceful Counter Strike, I believe it's called, and of course, uh, sorry, wild Counter Strike, and tough Counter Strike. And the final thing we're gonna be adding is the Terra Barrier, just to get that extra defense that could juice up our commander even more. So I think this is the perfect Warped build for him. I don't think anything else really works, but if you do know another build, please correct me in the comments down below. Yeah, Goresh is probably one of the better investments in Call of Dragons, and of course, how could I forget? How can you obtain Goresh? You can obtain Goresh, of course, from the Strongest Lord event that happens at the start of Season 2 Plus, or depending on your cycle later, it's just from the Strongest Lord in general, okay? From the Strongest Lord, and then later on in the season, he'll be added to the daily deals as much as all the other commanders eventually get added into the daily deals. So, my final verdict, is Goresh worth it? Yes, 100%, 5551. Perfection, absolutely strong, reliable, and he'll get the job done. So, thank you for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I hope you liked the video. I will try to edit more the war pet stuff now that since the patch is coming and you're gonna be able to select where you want to put your skills on every war pet. So we're gonna be pumping out more guides now for war pets as they're now a reliable thing and not an RNG fest. So do subscribe to stay tuned for that, and I will be posting the builds on my Discord as well. I do plan to make a big revamp on my Discord soon, so have a look out for that. And on that note, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Meow meow.